In a world of commonalities, there's a few things in the automotive scene that are pretty similar yet different. Should you go KW coilovers or ST coilovers? Should you go Choco Milk or Strawberry Milk? Should you go little boy gloves or big boy gloves? I'm Alex at FI on Instagram, and today in the next episode of Opposite Lanes, we're gonna be comparing two peas in a pod that are slightly a little bit, kind of sort of different, but not really unless you're really looking. We're gonna be taking a look at the Focus ST versus the Volkswagen GTI. Let's go. Okay, so let's get in the old ST here. Let me just move the racing seats because race car. This is a 2014 Ford Focus ST, and this is Dakota's. He's very happy with this, and it's actually really well. Oh gosh, it's actually really nice. You know, I enjoy it. I just gotta do the, and let's just do the. Is there a place for me to move the seat? Push button? Hello? Dakota! How do I move the seat? So we're just gonna let that load up here. Barely noticeable, the compressor. That was obnoxious. All right, let's go. So this is Dakota's Ford Focus ST. It's on VIP modulars, 18 by 9.5 plus 30s, Nitto Neogens 215s, and then he's on Airlift 3P. So he's on air. And we're gonna be comparing the ST versus the GTI. And the reason that we're doing that is because they're actually two very similar platforms. Please God, don't bust up his other fender. Okay, we're good. If you actually go out onto the World Wide Web, you're gonna notice that first off, there's a lot of comparisons between the two because a lot of people, these are in the same price bracket, these are in the same style that you want, these are in like the same ballpark, except one is domestic and one is European. When you're going into the Focus ST, a lot of the thing is that it's newer, it's angrier, it's kind of more of like the hip thing. It's just a little bit different. And of course, it's got the old turb skis, which makes it a ton of fun. Now, this is the ST3, and if you guys don't know, the Ford Focus, the ST3 is pretty much all the goodies. So the ST1, on the other hand, pretty much doesn't come with, well, like a steering wheel. It really doesn't come with anything. And Ford Focus gets a little bit of flack for it. This is the ST3, so this came with all the bells and whistles, everything you could possibly imagine. It's a little tight, but which is awesome. One of the good things about the Ford Focus ST, or at least one of the things that I immediately like about it, is that it's super angry and it's super aggressive. It's very in your face. They did a really great job with the design, and if you're looking for a car that's super angry all the time, the ST really does do that. The fact that it's paired with a 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, you know, it's got a lot of goodies. You can tune it, you can throw a Cobb Access tune on it, intake, exhaust, the whole 9 yards, and it sounds absolutely awesome. And that's the coolest thing about the ST. Now, the ST does have a couple two tree drawbacks, okay? Besides the fact that it had a couple, you know, recalls and things like that. Every car has recalls of some kind. they did depreciate pretty hard, which makes them a great bargain buy. So if you're looking to buy a car that's different or new or anything like that, this is definitely one that you could probably pick up without much fuss or feeling bad about depreciation because they've already fallen on their face. Another one of the cons about the Ford Focus ST that at least people talk about quite a bit from an aesthetic point of view is the paint doesn't last super long. Sometimes you can have rust issues in the quarter panels. It's a pretty common issue. But besides that, I mean, it's a fun little hot hatch. One of the best things about the ST is that it has both looks and it has performance. And if you want both of those things, it's honestly really fun. We're gonna get taken off into Mercury. I feel like Space Jam over here. Now, these cars are known for turning, quick, sporty, connected feel. And obviously because, you know, it's on air, it's got a bunch of mods and stuff like that, we can't necessarily compare apples to apples. What we can compare is how does it feel overall? How does everything together feel, even with the modifications? And how does the car behave with all the extra stuff strapped up onto it? Is it does it pretty well. I mean, the airlift system, the 3P, it's awesome. It's obviously extremely bouncy. You know, there's a little bit of rocking and rolling that's going on around here. One of the things that kind of feels a little funky to me is the steering is good, but it's not as tight as I think it probably once was. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's on air suspension now. That and just some of the things about the inside of the car feel a little, I don't know, like they look like they're supposed to do the thing, but then you touch them and you realize that it was a lie all the time. You ever have that happen to you on a Friday night? You're there, just you, them, and all of a sudden you find out something unexpected. It's unfortunate for everybody. The ST's got all the gauges, it's got all the fancy, dancy, angry stuff. It's got angry headlights, it's got the LEDs, but it's still a budget sports hot hatch car that's depreciated super hard. So if this is a car that you're looking to pick up, you really got to be careful as to who you're picking it up from. This car has been super well maintained. Dakota's had this car for a few years now, and he's pretty much done everything that's on this car he's done, which is great. Buying it from somebody that knows what they're doing, I mean, obviously besides trashing your rear fender by accident, is a good thing to do. The unfortunate thing is since so many of these were made and because they were such a lower price point, if you buy the wrong one and you buy one that wasn't taken care of, Ford Focus STs will bite you in the and they'll bite you super, super hard because it's a newer platform to the Americas. It was a newer entry model, newer specifications, newer emission requirements. Everything about this car was newer. And because it was newer, there are higher risks with that. And that's why some people prefer the GTI over the Ford Focus ST, is because even though it's fun and exciting and loud and crazy and all that sort of stuff, there is an essence of unreliableness to the car. You start slapping more and more stuff on it, like tunes, intake, air, this, that, and the other thing, and then all of a sudden you start running into more and more problems. But for a Ford interior, it's not bad at all. I can hear absolutely everything. I mean, I'm almost yelling to the camera now. I think there were comments in the last video that were telling me not to yell. You try being in a Ford Bronco where you can hear the wind coming through the window gasket and tell me not to yell. But there are a few shortcomings to this specific Ford Focus ST and probably others like it. It's on air, so the tank back there is taking up a good chunk of space. There's no rear seats anymore, so what's the point in having 4 doors? There's a roll cage, we're gonna jump. There's a roll cage back there, which looks super cool, but now you can't take anybody besides one person along with you. I mean, it's in all, it's a great car. There are some weird things about it that you'd have to get used to, like the million-mile long front dash that seems to only end right where your kneecaps start, which may not be the most exciting thing in the world for somebody that's above the height of 5 foot 5 inches and weighs more than 135 pounds. Or I think sometimes there's this misconception that you can see a whole ton in these cars, and you can through the rear, but you have quite a bit of blockage there in the back from the windows back. So I think that if I were to actually describe this car, it's almost like, it's like the Cracker Jack toy that you get in a cereal box or something like that. It's a ton of fun, it's exciting, it's loud, it's in your face, it's crazy, and it's got the platform to do just about anything. The motor's fun, it's turbocharged, it makes the blow-off noises, everything about it is great. And from a modification standpoint, you can do a lot of stuff to these cars. You can throw them on coils, you can throw them on air, you can do everything in between. The foundation is there, but it's not always that fantastic. There are some shortcomings to a car like this: paint, rust, reliability, new things, and then just overall just some quirky things that come from a car that entered the States in a peculiar way. Look right in front of you, Max, and look at how big that dash is. You can't, there's no real purpose to some of those things besides the fact that they just had to make do. So we're gonna jump in a car that's the opposite, but not really, to the Focus ST. One that looks very similar, but isn't. One that has more reliability and comforts than being loud and obnoxious. Let's go take a look at the GTI. Now, next up, we have a 2017 Volkswagen, GTI. This is the S trim, all right? We don't play around. Just making sure it's in neutral, you know? Don't wanna be that guy. Alrighty. Let's put on the seatbelt that's way easier to put on. Now this is Dustin Course Volkswagen GTI, and this has a couple two-tree things done to it too, but not as much as the Ford Focus ST. The Ford Focus ST is like, she's capped out. She's maxed out. This is like, we're still stage 1 in modification with this car compared to Dakota's stage 3. But this has Conseil KMPs, Federal 595s, BC Racing BR coilovers. This has a couple Euro bits for the headlights and the taillights and a couple just flashy good things. It's got a front splitter on it too. I think it's got an intake on it as well. Then it's got obviously the fancy dancy dash here that monitors all your goody stuff that you would need to. Now, one of the first things that you notice between the Volkswagen and the Ford Focus is just how well refined GTIs are. Every single year that they come out with a new revision, it seems like they just continue to lock down the formula of their hot hatch. Now, this isn't loud and in your face, and it probably really could be if Dustin wanted it to. GTIs and the GTI community is known for, well, modifications. They've been around forever, but this specific car, since this is the one that we're comparing, is not crazy and in your face. In fact, it's very nice and it's very calm. There's nothing too crazy about it. As I'm driving around, I'm talking in a normal voice. I'm not yelling, I'm not screaming in comparison to the Ford Focus ST, nor do I have to listen to a loud compressor for 3 minutes. This is just done. One of the nicest things about the GTI is how well refined it is. Look in front of you and you'll see that you actually have space for your knees. You don't have to remove them like you do in the Ford Focus ST to get in. Another thing about it is everything seems very subtle, very refined. Everything is sunken in this car, and they do that on purpose. Car manufacturers will sink in things in their cars like buttons and knobs and presses because they want to give you the perception that there's more space. Now, it actually does give you more space, but you don't really notice those details until you're looking for them. Look in the side here, everything is sunken in. Look at the dash, everything is sunken in. Pretty much everything about the car besides what is absolutely needed is sunken in. When I'm driving this car in comparison to the ST, it just feels a little bit, well, more refined. It's a big pro when you're comparing the two. Now, even though this has right around 225, 230 horsepower, it's still lower than the STs without more mods. Now, the Volkswagen GTI still has the 4 doors just like the ST, but the seats back here are still usable. They're cloth, but I almost like them better. I think I like just more how well done this car is in comparison to the other one. Now, the Ford Focus ST came into the States. It's still a new and young, excited young boy. Whereas the GTI has been around for a couple, 2-3 minutes and has had time to make the mistakes that Ford Focus has yet to make. Not to say the Volkswagen isn't without its problems, because GTIs are still GTIs. They're still iconic in their own way. I'm sure even though we don't have a check engine light yet, we're still shy of 50,000 miles. So if it hasn't come up yet, I'm sure it will. Both cars, front wheel drive. Everybody always says wrong wheel drive, but if you get the right car with the right mods, you can really have fun with a front wheel drive car. And this car stays planted so well. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that Dustin ran a Meteor setup on his 18x9s, but still so very connected to the ground. All the same while, I'm talking to you in a normal voice. I'm driving comfortably. I have the air on. Everything about the car is so nice. And even the modifications that are in this car are subtle and small. They're not in your face. The details they mean so much more. When you're trying to compare the difference between a Volkswagen GTI and a Ford Focus ST, both turbocharged, both small engines, both front wheel drive, both with 4 doors, both budget friendly, both have a wicked depreciation curve, you might be asking, what are the pros and cons of each? And we've kind of talked about it with the ST. The ST is angry, it's in your face, it's loud, it's just a little bit different, it's newer, it's unique, it's got a more up and coming community versus a community that's already existed for so long. The Volkswagen GTI has the pros of, it's just more refined, it has more to it. In my eyes, it just feels like a car that I could sit in longer, drive longer, and enjoy longer than an ST. Now, a couple of the cons of the GTI would probably be the fact that at the end of the day, it's still a GTI. The community is massive, but everyone owns a GTI. GTIs have been around forever, so some people don't like the fact that everyone owns a GTI. There's plenty of people that get upset that a GTI is what you would buy. I put up a picture on my story about me driving this car, and people legitimately got upset, praying that I didn't buy a GTI because it was too normal. What? That's a good thing when you're looking to modify or at least daily drive a fun car. You want something that's been out there. You want something that a lot of people have run, because then if you have the problem, more than likely a couple thousand other people have had the issue too. Which one should you buy? I think that really comes down to the question of, what do you want? The Euro community is much different than the Focus community, but they still have the same underlying cues. They both really enjoy having fun. They're both really great communities to be a part of. The VW community is much larger and a lot more experienced than the ST community, because the ST community is a little bit newer. If you're looking for a daily driver, both are fantastic daily drivers. The Ford Focus, you're gonna wanna get an upgraded package though. The ST packages are really important to keep an eye on. If you get an ST1 or an ST2, sometimes you'll find yourself being a little upset that you didn't get a GTI, because a GTI has more options that are priced within a longer ranges of trim pieces or trim lines that allow you to get more for what you want. I think that if you're looking for a car that has more daily drivability, you're probably gonna have a little bit more fun in the GTI. But if you're looking for a car that's a little bit more in your face, a little bit more exciting, and a little bit more different, you're probably gonna wanna pick up the Ford Focus ST. Just keep an eye on that paint on the ST, and in terms of the GTI, you're gonna wanna keep an eye on that check engine light. Because even though it's a joke, it literally happens to every single platform, every single Volkswagen known to man. It's just how it rolls. So which one should you buy? Which one is the right answer? That's a good question. Why am I still wearing big gloves? And the answer for that one is because it's still cold outside. The Ford Focus ST is a fun car. There's a lot to it, and it's like a Lego block of excitement. But there's still a couple weird things about it. The car doesn't come with hood latch, like it doesn't come with hood struts. The same thing could be said the fact that it has hood gap from the factory. The inside has a dash that goes for days and doesn't leave a lot of space. There's quite a bit of plastic that can make you feel like the quality's not always there. On the other side, you've got the GTI, which is a more refined, more adult-oriented vehicle that just wants to get you from point A to point B while enjoying what makes a small compact car fun, a small compact car. The Volkswagen GTI is a car that I'd probably say you go and take to drive to work from your 9 to 5. And then on Saturday and Sunday, you'd put that away to go hang out with one of these. But by and large, they're both almost, well, a little bit of the same. Which one would you guys prefer? And of course, if you're looking for us to compare two cars in the next episode, be sure to drop a comment below. And if you're looking for aftermarket wheels, tires, or suspension like Conse's or VIP modulars, be sure to check us out over at fitmentindustries.com. I'm Alex from Fitment Industries, and we will see you later. Peace.